Hello and welcome to another episode of the HaskinCast Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I am so excited, guys. I have a fantastic guest with me who I just met about 3 minutes ago, and already we're best friends. It's great. The final member for me to meet of Uriah Heep's lineup, Bernie Shaw. Bernie, how are you?
Hello. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I don't know where you are, but in Cambridgeshire, I've just dropped the kids off from school, and I'm starting my day. I think half of your audience is probably halfway through a good evening and just ready for some rock and roll nighttime.
You know, it's weird. The audience is kind of all over the world. I've got some in countries I can't even pronounce. And I'm just grateful. You probably have. Well, Uriah Heep has been one of those groundbreaking bands that has been the first rock band to play in countries before. That's a pretty amazing story to be able to say that you woke this country up to rock and roll.
Yeah, we've been very, very fortunate over the 50 years. Well, 52 years officially.
52, yeah.
Being the first Western rock band, full production-wise, to go to Russia back in 1987, that was a serious feather in the cap. All put together through a Hungarian promoter, Laszlo Hegedus. And I mean, he worked like for 5 years, I think, putting that thing together. And then again, being the first Western rock band in South Korea. Again, a first. I think we were one of the first bands to go to Czech Republic when it was still Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool knowing that you're the first to take rock music into a country where they've always had it, albeit underground or on pirate radio, but to actually take a stage show where nobody's ever treaded the boards. That's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing.
It really is. And, you've been in the band now over 30 years, not only the longest running singer, but one of the longest running members of the band. Obviously, Mick's been there since day one, but Phil joined at the same time that you did. For you guys started on the same album. So you guys have really changed the sound of the band over the years. I love the way you've sounded on the last couple albums. In fact, I think Living the Dream is one of the best albums the band has ever done. I'm dying to hear the new one. How did it feel getting back into the studio and recording again?
It was, there was a little bit of a break because of the COVID situation, but it was very much, dare I say, duck to water. We went to the same studio, the Chapel up in Lincolnshire in England here. We used the same producer, Jay Rushton, because Living the Dream it did it for us as well. It just sounded so natural and so powerful, very organic sounds. And it was old school recording like we're used to. And we use the technology. We don't let technology use us.
Yeah.
And Jay was very much into that, modus operandi. So we went, it worked on this last one. Let's copy it, but have maybe a slightly different approach to some of the songs. And it's more of a diverse album than Living the Dream. There's a little bit more, dare I say, prog rock on it. Some of the songs. Russ really came to the table on this one. He wrote a couple of really good songs that are on the album, and it's diverse, but it's strong, but it's got all the Heep trademarks that you know and love. The Hammond organ and the wah-wah guitar, the most amazing drum sound I think we've ever had with Russell. Just phenomenal drum sound. And Jay had me using a different microphone that we usually use. The Neumann, a very, very old German microphone, which he's always sworn is the best vocal mic ever made. And I have to agree with him. The vocal sound on this album is just absolutely out of this world. Excellent. It's warm yet sharp. It's got, I'm a singer. I'm going to get excited about the way the microphone sounds.
Sure, yeah.
It's got my voice sounding at its best. All the harmony, the big Heep harmonies are there, and it's a powerful melodic album. So I can't wait for you guys to hear it as well.
Yeah,
we were just getting the final mixes through from LA over the last couple of weeks. So the band are really hyped up about it because it's sounding good, and good. What is it, number 27 or 28 on the album chart?
This one would be 25.
For how many we've made?
This would be 25. Yeah. 25.
Wow.
That's a lot of albums.
That's a lot of, and that's just studio albums.
Right.
That's not best ofs, lives,
Mhm.
compilations, bootlegs,
Right.
anniversaries.
Yeah,
That's just studio albums. So yeah, that's a lot of music. That's
it
a lot of
is.
catalog.
And you're absolutely right about Russell. Of all the drum sounds over all the albums, I think he's gotten the cleanest, brightest sound out of the drums. There's some songs, going through the catalog where I couldn't really hear what Lee Kerslake was playing because it was so muffled. And so you guys have really dialed it in now, and that just makes the music much more enjoyable to listen to. I got to ask you about one of my favorite songs, and one of my favorite performances of yours on "Living the Dream" is a song called "Dreams of Yesteryear," the final track on the album.
Oh
Boy,
yeah.
this one's emotional. This one, I have to stop listening to it in the car because I just get so welled up with emotion that I really should be paying more attention to the road than, you know. Uh,
Wow.
that song just means so much to me. It feels so powerful, and your delivery of the lyrics, especially on this song, it just gets me in the heart every single time. How do you do it?
Um, I wish I could say, oh yeah, I just do this. Uh, I have no idea. I mean, because I'm not a lyricist, when I read a lyric that either Mick and Phil, or Phil by himself, when I get given a sheet of lyrics and I read through them, it's pretty instantaneous if I can get my teeth into it.
Mhm.
And Dreams of Yesteryear was very much like that. Go back a few more years, What Kind of God
Oh
was,
yeah.
I read that, I got welled up because, being Canadian, we know all the American history, and then the story of Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, and the whole political situation back in the 1800s, and the Indians and how they were persecuted. And I just, it really struck a chord with me. So
Mhm.
songs that have got a true meaning or a true story that I can just get my teeth into, I have no problem with. And it's a natural flow. And if I've got a producer that is not, yeah, just one more take. Yeah, well, yeah, we almost got it. One more take.
Mhm.
Jay is like, sing it. I'll tell you if we got it.
Yeah.
And we work one on one. And I mean, I know some singers out there that have a lot of problems in studios, and it can take forever to get a vocal track. And well, for instance, Def Leppard, I know that Mutt Lange used to have, 100 vocal tracks to choose from, and then he'd still piece it together to make it what he wanted to sound in his head. And I could never do that. I want to sing the song, maybe do it 3 times, and then tell me how is it going, because I want to have the hair go up in the back of your neck. And if it doesn't, then I'm not singing it right.
Yeah. No, and
You know what I mean?
and you do. And first of all, poor Joe Elliott. I just got to be right. He's when they get ready to do a new album, he's probably just, having panic attacks because
Oh,
that's a lot to deal with.
it really did. I think that because Trev, bless him, used to be very good friends with the Def Leppard boys, and Joe used to go, my throat was, almost bleeding, and then he goes, yeah, that's the sound I'm looking for. Well, that wasn't a normal or natural sound for Joe.
Right. Yeah.
He's done very well, and he's now made it his style. But
Mhm.
same with Lou Gramm. That they used to just rag him in the studio to get the sound rather than just use what the singers got naturally. More often than not, that will do the same thing. But if some producers or some writers have got a certain idea of a sound in their head, and they want you mechanically to get that. Now, if you're using a guitar, you just turn a knob on an amplifier, or turn a different button on a keyboard to get a sound. But when you're working with two little tiny filaments in your neck, vocal cords are really, really fragile things. So to rag them like that, there can be repercussions.
Oh yeah. And you can't just put a capo on them and say, well, I'm just going to sing it in this key now. And,
Oh yeah, exactly.
that'd be nice, but it doesn't work. I'm going to make a very strange comparison to you right now. You have a certain quality that I also find in Reba McEntire. where you're not writing your stories, you're not creating or speaking from experience, but you sing like you've been there or like you're going through it now. I feel such a connection when I listen to you, even if I'm not paying attention to the words, just listening to your voice more as an instrument. I feel a really interesting connection to you as a vocalist that I don't get with a lot of other people. But I compare you to Reba because she's only written one song that I'm aware of. Yet everything I've heard her sing, I'm right there with her, taking that journey.
Absolutely. I mean, she's as female vocalists go, she's one of my favorite vocalists. She does have an amazing voice. And you're right. I didn't know that she didn't write because I guess some singers can just do that. They put their own stamp on a song. They don't have to write it as long as you can get into that pair of pajamas. You know what I mean? And it's a matter of not just selling it, but it's believing in it.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing, is you can sing the words. Critique. Really?
Sorry?
Well, I was saying
the worst critique if somebody.
No, after you.
I was saying that I can be the worst critique in the studio. If somebody hands me, it can be anybody hands me some lyrics, and I can go, "Ooh, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. Do we have to? Can we maybe keep the same implication but change the actual word? Can we do this, do that, change that?" And luckily with Phil and Mick, they know that's going to happen. No one writes a song that's carved in stone lyrically. And Russ kind of found out with his song, because he'd never written songs before with the band. When he came, I was quite, I wouldn't say difficult. I just want to get the best performance out of me, which means I've got to have a total belief in the lyric. So we sat down a few times and said, can we change this a little bit? Because, this is the way you would see it, but this is the way that I would see it. And if I'm going to stand up in front of 100 or 100,000 people and sell it, I got to believe it. And he'd go, okay, what's your ideas? I said, well, what about this? What about that? And we just tweak things so we'd both be happy. And then hopefully you get the best out of the song and the singer.
Well, see, and that's why I've never paid too much attention to who's got the writing credits, because regardless, at the end of the day, everybody has their stamp on a song, whether
everybody.
It's just not possible in a band like that. But what I love about you guys, and I watched the documentary that came with the Live in the Dream CD DVD combo, I loved how you guys just felt like a family. Like this is just something that you're doing because you enjoy it, not because you have a contract with the record company or because it's how you make a living. You just are there because that's where you want to be. And you guys are all in it together. And I really love the unity of the band.
Well, that's what, when Mick and David Byron first put the band together, I think that was one of the prime factors is if we're going to put a band together, it's got to be with your mates. Cause you've got to be musically compatible. You can't have somebody, a pub band level and somebody, concert level. You want to all at the same level, all going on down the same road, but you've got to be mates because you're going to be spending more time with them than your family. And over 35, 36 years, I've spent a heck of a lot more of my anniversaries with Mick rather than my wife, because we just do, we're still on the road 200 days a year, doing 120 odd concerts. So you've got to get along. But saying that, like any dysfunctional family, you do have times where tempers, they fray, because we are in such close proximity for so long. Yeah. But it's healthy. It's healthy to have a blow up and then have a big, reunion hug and go, oh, Jesus, I needed to get that off my chest, but now let's just go have a drink and have some fun and play some music. Because if it ain't fun, why put yourself through all that? Exactly. Why would you bother? I got to share this story with you because the first time I've gotten the chance to see you guys twice, the last two times you played in Vegas. And the first time was at Boulder Station Casino. And so I was so excited because I never thought I would see you guys. I only heard about you touring in Europe. So I missed all these shows I could have seen. But you guys come out and you said, and I love this about you, you said, we had a lot of fun last night.
So you're going to have to give us a couple songs to get warmed up. I thought that was great. It wasn't just, hey, we're just going to come out and be on fire. It was like, hey, you know what, guys, we took advantage of living or being in Vegas and we had some fun. So just bear with us a little bit. We'll be with you. And that was great.
Well, it was my first time in Vegas on that tour. And I do remember, I'm not a big gambler, but the all you can eat buffet bar.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think we overdid it on the Alaskan king crab legs, followed by copious amounts of margaritas. But we were in Vegas,
Yeah, exactly. But it was a fantastic show. And what I loved most about the show is it wasn't just that you guys were playing great. It wasn't that you sounded great. It was that you enjoyed being on that stage so much that it made the song sound even better. There was just, you can't wipe the smile off Mick's face from the time he walks out to the time he goes off stage. I mean, it's just there the whole time. You were having a blast. Yeah. Everybody was just there and having a good time. That made the show much better than just coming out and playing the songs well.
Well, we've never been a band that just goes out and goes through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it's too hard. It's too much like acting, and as I said earlier, if you don't enjoy it, what are you there for? I'm with 4 amazing musicians, and not taking anything away from when I played for 27 years with Trevor as my left wing man on bass, and with Lee behind me on the drums. I mean, Heep has always been a force to be reckoned with live because we have fun. Mm-hmm. That's it. We just go out and do it, and we bounce off each other. There's some bands that work on friction, and we work on friendship, and hopefully it shows. Well, it must show it from your comments that you just said.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
The last visit to Vegas was with Judas Priest, and it was a much bigger venue, and we even had bigger grins on our faces because we were open. Well, we were accepted from all these quite diehard Priest fans because they are a lot heavier than us.
Yeah.
But it worked out in our favor. And at the end of the night, the whole place was going nuts. And Vegas is a really, really cool place. And I've played lots of different cities across America, but Vegas it's carved out of its own stone, isn't it? There's a reason why there's a little place in Nevada and nowhere, there's nothing like it in the world, which is really, really cool.
That is absolutely true. And that was at the Hard Rock that you guys opened for Priest.
Yeah.
And I would say, honestly, I didn't stay for the whole Priest show. I was basically there to see you guys, but the crowd was just as loud for you as they were for Priest. By the time that you guys were done, you had won everybody over that wasn't familiar with you. I can say that. Well, that was a great night.
It did seem like that. I got to admit, we made a lot of new fans over there across the whole of the States, opening up for Priest. It took us to a whole different fan base, and a lot younger, which was nice to see as well. But because they weren't familiar with us, it was a little bit of how are we going to approach this? And It was like, stand our ground, have some fun, and either they're going to tap into it or they're not. And more often than not, they tapped into it. They knew we were having a gap.
Oh, for sure. And, now you need to expand your horizons and start working with Alice Cooper and win over all of his fans.
Well, we know Coop very well. We've done a couple of tours in Europe with Cooper.
Oh, okay.
And I sent him a Christmas card, him and Cheryl, every year. And his fans are pretty different as well.
Yeah. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I got to ask you about another song that I absolutely love that you did, was called Mistress of All Time. That's another one of your vocal deliveries that I'm just like, wow, there's so much passion in that. And not that you don't in the other songs, but that's just one that really strikes a chord, for lack of a better term, really strikes a chord with me.
It's a really quite dynamic song. When it comes out of the verse into the chorus, especially on that downbeat, bum bum bum, and then the big vocal chorus comes in. Yeah, boy, you're going back a few years on that.
I am.
But I had a different sound to my voice on those songs. And I remember Mistress, again, really good song, really got into it and behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a much more kind of higher range and cleaner approach to that song. Again, that's what Phil wanted, because Phil wrote it.
Right.
And we worked together on the vocal approach. But yeah, different than what my voice sounds like today.
Oh yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there's a
I
little
was a lot younger back then as well.
Weren't we all? So my last question, well, I actually had two more for you, if you don't mind. I wanted, if you could tell me a little bit about the Colin Shaw project.
Well, Dale Collins, my friend and writing partner in Alberta, Canada. He's unfortunately a musician that has to have a day job instead of just focusing 100% on his music, which he wishes he could do. Right. But circumstances don't allow that right now. So he's working 1 hour in the studio and 40 hours on a day job. And it makes his process, unfortunately, quite lengthy.
Right.
But boy, do you get a quality of song at the end of it. And we took about 6 years getting all the songs written and the backing tracks recorded, because we just didn't have the facilities, let alone I'm in England and he's in Canada. Right. So what I'm trying to say is we did number one, the album came out, and we're still looking for how do I put this? A second term for release. We've got something in the pipeline for re-releasing it. Oh, good. He's now writing what he wants to be the second album. But he's up against it again with timing. He's got about 40, I talk to him weekly. He's got about 40 ideas. So, some of those will be lyrical, some of those will be just guitar lick, on something. So we're going to try and put something together over the next year that we might be able to get a proper band involved, going into a proper studio together, because it was so disjointed before. He's using a home studio and then sending files over to me, and then I'm going into a vocal studio and laying the vocals down. And it's unfortunately the only way we can write right now, but it's not my favorite way of recording. I'd rather have him right next to me in the studio and bouncing ideas off of him. But Dale writes. Dale is like Mick and Phil. Writers write. They don't care what the weather's like or what's happening, in their lives. They write. Like painters paint. Yeah, you can't stop the talent. So he's got some pretty strong ideas happening. It's just a matter, hopefully, of having the time and all the equipment set up, because it is a very strange situation where when you're renting a house with a basement and you've got a basement studio all set up, and then somebody comes in and goes, hey, shut up for a week, I'm off work, right. Kind of thing, or breathing down your neck. Yeah. So he's got these limitations, unfortunately, that he's got to work with. So he's not the happiest puppy sometimes, because he would be like yourself. It's getting to be 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. But if you want to do your show, you can do your show. Right. Yeah. He's got restrictions on what he can do. So it's a bit frustrating. Yeah. But it's not putting him off. He's still there. We're looking at number 2, but it's just with how Uriah Heep is, even though we're not on the road, we're still being quite busy. How much time I can actually put into something on the side. Yeah, no, and that makes perfect sense. I will say I love the sound of the first album. I need to dig into it more. I've only heard it a couple times, but I really like the sound of it. I think the writing and the performances are great. I look forward to a second one, but I look forward to getting to know this one better as well, because I think there's some really good stuff there. So I'm glad to hear that that's not the end of it. I was happy with it. I mean, the fact that he gave all the files, he sent them to the studio that I was using, that Uriah Heep used to record at Solbury Park in Milton Keynes here. And I used the same engineer that we did, Steve. And we've always had a good rapport because whenever we were doing Uriah Heep vocals, he would be the guy pushing the button and, yep, got it. Yep, got it. So to be actually just working one-on-one was fun, but a little bit scary, right? Because if I've got an idea for harmonies of, your root, your first, your thirds, your fifths, sometimes what I'm hearing in my head, constructions of harmonies, isn't the most academic way of doing it, to say.
Sure. Yeah.
Where Phil will sit down and go, these are your notes. And I went, when you hear them one-on-one, you go, that's not going to sound good with what I've and you go, but you haven't put the top one on, which goes, and he'll play something else. And you go, what the heck is that? But when you do sing them and you get them right and you blend them, you go, he was right. How did that sound so disjointed? And you put them together, sound like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. So I didn't have Phil when we were doing too much information. Right. It was just me and Steve, and a little cheapo keyboard, like Casio keyboard. And he went, I think that should sound right. That's a sound right. So all the vocals, all the harmonies were all done by me, just having fun and trying, experimenting with does this line go with that? Does this line go with that? To make that full kind of heapy wall of harmony that I was going for, because that's still my trademark at the end of the day.
Sure.
And I think we got away with it. And it only took, I think I did the whole album in like 4 days.
Really?
So and that's like 60 tracks of vocals.
Wow.
Over the whole album. So but if you get into a mood and a run and the voice is just working,
sure,
without going too much over it, we would be doing 2, sometimes 3 songs in a day, and there was only, I think, 8 songs on the album, but we flew through it incredibly fast.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, especially with that number of tracks. And when you do the next one, you could always bring your iPad and have him there with you. If the schedule works out where he's not at his day job, you could do that.
I never even thought about that. Just like you and me talking, it could be Dale in the studio going, hey, what about that? Hey, try this. I never even thought about that. Scott, that's a great idea. That's
Yay.
A really good idea.
So my last question for you, and this kind of leads into that really, because I think part of the reason that you were able to do that many tracks is because you guys perform so much. I mean, your voice is running marathons every night. How, through the pandemic, especially because, you can lose your vocal cords so quickly if you're not using them. As that's how I damaged my voice, was because I would go 3 or 4 days without even speaking. And then I would go to a red carpet event or something, and I would start talking. I would get really lightheaded because I was overworking my vocal cords because they just got weak. How have you been doing through the pandemic to keep your voice going?
Well, as I said earlier, I used it more as a rest than anything else. The fact that my family, especially my kids, Daddy, do you have to sing so loud? I said, well, I only really have one volume. And if we go caroling at Christmas, for some reason, I'm always the loudest guy on the block. So they prefer me not to sing while they're home. Cheeky little. Hey, this pays the rent.
That's right. Yeah.
So, my wife runs a costume hire business, so she's out of the house a lot. And when the kids are at school, I have freedom during the day just to warm my voice up at my pace, at my volume. And, I don't do, or haven't had in the past, to do a lot of warming up because they never really had a chance to cool down.
Yeah.
So I can pick up the gauntlet and they're already almost simmering. My problem with my voice that my throat specialist always said is, you got to learn to calm it down after the show. Not necessarily warm it up too much, but your problem is you need to calm it down and no talking on a tour bus, no talking in the car. I mean, the tour bus, I go, what's with all that about? He goes, well, that 12-cylinder diesel engine is kicking over at about 78 dB. Mm. So you're sitting on a tour bus trying to talk to your mates, and already your voice is over that high, just getting over the engine noise. And it never even occurred to me.
Yeah.
So no talking, or very, very minimal talking on the tour bus, unless I go right up to Mick and say, Mick, can I do something? But I've got to be very close proximity, because as you say, they get strained, and if you're on a 30 or 40 date tour and your voice gets really tired after, say, 5 or 8 shows, what do?
Right.
You be quiet.
Well,
follow the doctor's advice.
Yeah. Was it difficult with the shows that you did, right around the time that you were recording the album? You guys got to do a couple of shows. Were those difficult to sustain a full set?
Funnily enough, it wasn't. I think because of the adrenaline kicked in. We've never taken shows on during recording, only because it's mainly the focus that we have. We record incredibly fast because we're comfortable with the music, we're comfortable with the arrangements, and we're comfortable with each other's and your natural talent. You shouldn't have to take 50 takes at a song. If you can't do it in 3 or 4, stop and move on. So that allows us to record, like Living the Dream was recorded in less than 3 weeks.
Wow.
We did 11 backing tracks in 11 days. So, there's some bands out there that take longer than that just to tune their guitars. I won't make it, because that would be catty.
Right.
But yeah, when you're confident with yourself and you know the material, it's just a matter of getting a performance. And when you know each other's, approach and idiosyncrasies and talent, it gels pretty quickly with us. Yeah. So we don't waste time. You can get 2 really good takes in an hour, and you go, fine, that ain't going to get better,
right?
Because you're hitting it at such a high level to begin with. And it's the same vocally.
Mm-hmm. And then it just comes down to all the layers of vocals that you guys have to put on to give it that Heep polish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, normally, especially when Lee was around, we always had the 5 of us around one microphone, and we all had our dots on the floor where you had to stand to proximity to that mic to get the, what do we used to call it? We had some nickname for it, like it was something really corny, like okay, man, let's get that angelic chorus or something like that.
Right.
And everybody would take, on your marks, get set, go. And we'd all be on our little gaffer tape mark. And it was a lot easier for the producer to record that way, because all the sound levels were preset to how close. Like Lee's voice was so big, he would be the furthest away. Trevor would be quite close. Phil would be between me and Lee. So we all had our places, and that gave us that special Heep choral sound.
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. If you guys are all going to sing at your own volume, standing next to each other or at the same distance is going to make it mush.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or it'd be forever putting faders up, or if you all had your own separate mics. But to get that organic chorus sound, if you go ever see a proper choir singing, there's only a couple of ambient mics. Everybody doesn't have their own mic,
right?
To get that fullness, and that's how Heep work.
Yeah. Well, I can't argue, because the result is amazing. At the end of the day,
and that's it. After years and years of playing with each other and singing in studios, and you get that chemistry of, okay, this is where it's going to get set up, and this is how the vocals are going to be done, and this is how the guitars are going to be, like segregated from the rest because it's so damn loud.
Right.
And you have that formula even before you go into the studio, because you know that it works. Yeah. And the end result, like I said, it's fantastic. And the sound you guys got on Living the Dream, I can't wait to hear the new one. That's really all I could say about it. Thank you so much. Not a problem, Scott. It's
Yeah.
been fun.
It has. I look forward to the time where you guys can get back over here to the States and come back to visit us here in Vegas and do another show.
Oh man, we were hoping to go this year, actually quite early this year, and because of the restrictions, it's not the promoters. The promoters want the music and they want the bands, but it's getting insurance to cover the shows. That's where everybody's really having a tough time, because the insurance companies it's this unknown factor, and they don't want to take a chance.
Right.
So if you can see a band that's out on tour, it probably won't be a European band. And if it is, boy, they've jumped through some hoops to get those shows put in, because we were just chomping at the bit. We wanted to get over to America again, because of the success with Judas Priest tour and how much fun and new audience we created there. We want to capitalize on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not there yet.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Is there a lot of bands out on tour?
There are.
There are.
Well, I mean, it's like gunslinger days here. If you're inside, you're required to wear a mask, but nobody's really monitoring anything. I mean, you've seen how big the casinos are. You can't really monitor all of those people. It's not possible. At the venues, it's the same thing. I mean, we had, I think it was Garth Brooks was here with 60,000 people over at Allegiant Stadium. How are you going to maintain, unless you require a vaccination card at the door, how can you possibly maintain any element of safety? And even then, you're still at some element of risk, just a lesser one. So I don't know how, my biggest hope really is that this new variant seems to be lesser than the previous ones. And I'm hoping that it's kind of cycling itself down to nothing, because I don't think we're going to get there if we just depend on people to be responsible enough to make it go away.
Yes. I was listening. I'm not that I'm a politician, but I was watching.
Oh, same here.
News last night, and the guy with the bad haircut was saying, "That's it. No more masks tomorrow. Yeah, and no more quarantining." And he's just kind of thrown everything out the window, and he's used that really silly expression, common sense, because over this whole thing, people have not had much common sense.
No.
There's some pretty strange people out there that have got this preconceived idea, didn't one of your American people, I won't mention a man's name, say it was invented by the Democrats?
I have heard that. But our senator,
another guy with bad hair.
I can't remember if she was a senator or what her role was in the Nevada government, but near the very beginning of this, she was basically saying, well, you know what, some people are just going to have to die if we're going to get through this. Like, she was just like, I'll sacrifice some of our people. I'm like, this is really going to go well. And this is at the beginning.
Oh, shit.
So I feel real comfortable. I think her career's over.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, whatever it takes, I hope that things do. I know some bands from America have gone over to Europe, like the Dead Daisies did a short European tour, and they're based out of LA. But I don't know all the logistics of how it all works. I think we're a lot more like, we'll go to places, and everyone else is like, we're not ready to go to America yet. It's too crazy over there.
Yeah. And what we were finding out was America wasn't ready for Europeans to come over because of the new variant. Mm-hmm. They thought, they're going to bring it with them. Well, right. It's already there.
Yeah, it's here.
But yes, it seems to be going up very sharply and then falling just as sharply. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping, that we'll be able to get back to near normality as soon as we can. Hey, Uriah Heeps, we've still got all this stuff that says 50th anniversary on it.
That's
we haven't played one anniversary show yet.
No,
we got to get out there.
Yeah, you guys had all this stuff planned, and then COVID happened, and you just couldn't do it.
Yeah, everything, all back projection, and the biggest production we've ever had, and everything's been put on hold.
Yeah. Well, at least we're ready for it when it comes time. So stay safe out there. We're looking forward to your visit, to the new album, everything. We love what you guys have given us, over the 52 years. And it's just been amazing. The body of work, so many amazing songs, as I've dug into each one individually and gone, this song's amazing. There's only been a couple I've been like, not my favorite, but for the most part, I found some great stuff in every single song, and you guys are just one of the most amazing
Wow.
bands. You mean so much to me, and obviously your 500,000 Spotify followers and everything else. It's just insane. So thank you guys from all of us.
Okay, well, thank you, Scott. Thank you very much.
Bet. And when you guys do get to Vegas, first round's on me.
Mine's a margarita.
Thank you, Bernie. You take care. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks a lot, Scott. Ciao for now.
Ciao.